While taking pictures, a girl accidentally captured a murder scene. But instead of panicking and running away immediately, she took advantage of the moment when the killer was disposing of the body. She secretly snapped a photo of the killer's facial features. Then, she grabbed her camera and rushed onto the road quickly. She planned to call her uncle who was waiting by the roadside and go to the police station to report the crime together. However, when she reached the car, she found that her uncle was nowhere to be seen. This made her immediately realize that something was terribly wrong. She guessed that her uncle might have gone looking for her. Left with no choice, Annie had to brace herself and turn back. Unexpectedly, as soon as she turned back, she saw her uncle chatting with the killer. Annie was so scared that she shouted at her uncle to run. But before her uncle could react, the killer shot her uncle dead. Just as the killer was about to go after little Annie, he suddenly noticed the camera in her hand. Taking advantage of the killer's momentary daze, Annie immediately started to flee. She didn't know how long she had been running. Finally, Annie reached a nearby house. The homeowner saw Annie looking so panicked. He immediately asked her what had happened. However, before Annie could say a word, a bullet suddenly hit her foot. It was only then that the homeowner, Jack, realized what was going on. Annie was being chased. Seeing the killer approaching, Jack quickly hid inside the house. Then he quickly loaded his shotgun with bullets. The killer intended to rush in and kill both of them. Unexpectedly, the next second, after seeing the power of the shotgun, the killer didn't dare to advance recklessly anymore. Since Annie's foot was injured, she had to hide around the corner on the second floor and wait and see. To save time, the killer said that Annie had witnessed him killing someone with a gun. If they handed Annie over obediently, he would let bygones be bygones. However, Jack knew very well in his heart, if he handed Annie over, he would surely lose his life too. He didn't want to die for nothing. Looking at Annie's pitiful face, Jack suddenly thought of his son who had died unexpectedly not long ago. So, he immediately refused the killer's demand. Seeing that they couldn't reach an agreement, the killer had to tend to his own wounds first. Since Jack had to guard the stairs, he asked Annie to find some anti-inflammatory medicine to relieve the pain of the wound temporarily. Then he asked Annie to go to the bathroom and get a towel and a light bulb. Before Annie could react, Jack picked up the light bulb and smashed it. He scattered the sharp glass all over the stairs. This way, as soon as the killer stepped on the stairs, they would notice immediately. Annie thought Jack didn't seem like a bad guy. So, she told him that she had taken a photo of the killer. Then she removed the film from the camera and handed the film to Jack for safekeeping. However, Jack wasn't sure if he could defeat the killer. He had to ask Annie to seal the film and put it in the water tank of the toilet in the bathroom. Just then, the killer found on the first floor a confession letter of Jack on the ground. It turned out that Jack used to have a happy family, but because he put up wires near the farm, his child accidentally tripped and died on a rock. His wife went back to her parents' home in grief, and Jack, out of guilt, stayed at home all